Hello, welcome to my channel, another Bibliophile Reads. My name is Greg, and I am going to do the Interrail Eurorail book tag part 3. This tag was created by Mark over at Book Times with Elvis. First prompt. We pick up our journey in Genoa, the birthplace of one Christopher Columbus, a UNESCO-listed World Heritage Site. The Via Gabrieldi is one of the most important streets in Genoa and is famous for its large amount of palaces and fine architecture. Tell us about the main street in your town or city. What can you see or do there? I am currently living in Bonnie Lake, Washington. I will be here until the end of the month and then I will move away. The main street is Route 410. The biggest attraction on Route 410 in Bonnie Lake is Costco. If you really want to get into it, you can probably find you can find a Lowe's and a Home Depot right off 410. You can find a McDonald's. You can find a Wendy's. There is a Thai restaurant that is very good. There's not a lot to recommend to see or do on Route 410. Next prompt. I'm going to abbreviate this prompt because it's very long and it just tells a story from Mark. It says, from Genoa, we moved to Milan. And this is where he tells you about a misunderstanding in a foreign country. And I do have a story about a misunderstanding in a foreign country. When I was in high school, we had a trip to England and we were staying at a hospital outside of London. And one of the British fellows who was staying in the next room in the hospital asked me when I left, if I was leaving the room, are you going out for a fag? Now, I interpreted that in the way that a 16-year-old male from America would interpret it. That fag is a homosexual. Now, in England, a fag is a cigarette. So what he was asking me, are you going out for a cigarette? But I turned it as like, are you going out to find a male homosexual? So I told all my buddies in the room that the guys next door are homosexuals. It was clearly obvious that that's what he was indicating. And so we avoided them, and the British boys were wondering why all the American boys were avoiding them. And it finally came out that, oh, we misinterpret the word fag in the United States and England. So that's a humorous misunderstanding. Milan is one of the fashion capitals of the world. Tell us about your fashion sense. Is fashion and style important to you? Look at me. Look at this loose-fitting shirt. I'm wearing beach pants on a summer day in Washington. If I were to dress up, I would have jeans and maybe an Izod shirt. If my wife gets on my case, I might put on a Hawaiian shirt to go out to dinner and look a little nice, but I have absolutely no interest in fashion whatsoever. Next prompt. While in Milan, it would be a great shame not to stop at the Convent di Piazza Santa Maria del Gresel, as here you can view one of Leonardo da Vinci's most famous works, The Last Supper. Can you tell us about a particular memorable, good or bad, meal you have had and why it is so memorable? Every now and then, maybe every 5 or 6 years, my wife and I comment that we find a meal that is so fabulous. It is truly memorable. One of them was in Las Vegas. We had flown out just for a weekend trip, and we'd gotten off the plane, and we were dead tired, and we didn't know where to eat, and we just were passing by this restaurant, and we just said, we're going to eat here. And I cannot remember the name of the restaurant, but we weren't expecting anything, but the meal was absolutely fabulous. And it was, I don't even remember what we ate. Another one was when we were on a cruise ship in the Caribbean. We went to a Brazilian style lounge, and this is not your normal cruise ship dining room. This is one of the ones where you have to pay a surplus to get in. But the Brazilian style dining is when they just bring you grilled meats off skewers, and you select each meat, and oh man, those meats were savory, and it was just unexpectedly good. And that's just, like you said, one of those rare exceptions when a meal truly overachieves your expectations of it. Two households, both alike in dignity, in fair Verona, where we lay our scene. Romeo and Juliet, Shakespeare. Fair Verona is where we lay our next prompt, too, as it is where we stop upon leaving Milan en route to Venice. Have you read much Shakespeare? What is your favorite play by the Bard? When I was living in DC and single, I subscribed to the Shakespeare Folger Theater. I got season tickets, and you got 3 Shakespeare theaters per season and 1 non-Shakespeare play. And I really loved those. I saw a lot of his major plays in the 5 years that I was subscribed. I think my favorite is Macbeth. I also liked Hamlet a lot. Their version of Lear was pretty good. I've had less favorable experience with the comedies. They did do a comedy, what's the one with Rosalind who dresses up as a man? I cannot remember the name of that. They got a very famous actress, Kelly McGillis, played the woman's role, and it was a Shakespeare in the Park. That basically means it's just Shakespeare in the open air, and it was like a one-night event, and I really enjoyed that one too. I have read most of those plays in just written form, and I found out the best way to read Shakespeare is don't look at the annotations. When you're reading it, pretend you're watching it on the stage, and don't fret over his language that you don't understand this or that word. Just read it. Next prompt. Verona has a fantastic Roman amphitheater which plays host to an opera festival each summer. Have you visited any festival? Size not important. Can be music, theater, book festivals, etc. I really have not seen any festivals like that. Unfortunate but true. Next prompt. You arrive in Venice. Venice is a Dorian gray city. Somewhere up there in the world's attic, there is another place with a haggard, pox and ravaged face of unspeakable evil. And I suspect it's Cardiff, A.A. Gill. Perhaps that is a bit harsh on poor Cardiff, but it is a quotation that got me thinking. What is one of the most beautiful cities you have ever visited, and why do you think it is so beautiful? Naturally, our next question will be, what is one of the ugliest cities you have ever visited, and why? Also, did it have any redeeming features? The most beautiful city that I have seen in the past 10 or 15 years is Victoria, British Columbia. That is pretty much of a day trip from where I'm currently living. You take a ferry across to Canada, and it is a very lovely, beautiful city. One of my favorite places is a dog park along the coastline, and that's what it is. It's just a very long park where you can sit, play games, or walk your dog. And if this piece of real estate were in the United States, it would not be a park. It would be completely developed with housings. And that's just sort of what I admired about Victoria. And also, when you're walking down the streets, you just get a very different sense. You have a sense of foreignness, that this is not an American city. Of course, it's not American, it's Canadian, but you get a feeling of being someplace in Europe. The ugliest city is Hoboken, New Jersey. I had to spend a night in Hoboken, New Jersey, when I was visiting a friend who was getting married in New York. And that is one of the vilest, nastiest places that I have ever visited. It has no redeeming value whatsoever. Do not visit Hoboken, okay? Just say no to Hoboken. Next prompt. The patron saint of Venice is Saint Mark, San Marco. The name of Mark appears to be related to Mars, the god of war, and is often said to be the meaning is therefore warlike. What is the meaning of your name, and do you know why you were called what you are called? Also, have you got a nickname you can share with us? Well, my first name is Greg, short for Gregory. That comes from the Greek to be to awaken or to watch. My last name is Montague, which means from French a pointy hilltop. So you could say my name is Watcher from the Hilltop. I wonder if you could stretch it to the hills have eyes. It might be a stretcher, but kind of a neat name. Hills have eyes. Next prompt. It is between 80 and 100 euros to hire a gondola in Venice for that romantic trip through the canals. It is pretty expensive as you only get between 20 and 30 minutes. What is one of the most expensive things you have done on your vacations? Alternatively, what is one of the cheapest? One of the most expensive things we did is my wife, we were in Hawaii on the big island, and we took a helicopter tour over the island. And that is just a fabulous way to see the island. You get to see all the geography. He took us over the volcanoes and some of the waterfalls, and it was just a lovely experience. One of the cheapest things is just walking through a town, not spending money. Next prompt. Sadly, it does not appear you can take a ferry anymore from Venice to Trieste, so you hop back on the train. You arrive in Trieste, which is Italian, but it has a different feel about it. You can feel this mix of Italian, Austrian, and Southern Slav influences prior to World War I. The city part of Habsburg, Austria. Its loss left Austria landlocked. How far away do you live from the sea? How often do you visit the coast? It depends on what you're going to call the sea. I live about a half hour away from Puget Sound. When I worked in downtown Tacoma, I crossed that sound every day. That is connected to the sea. There's not a lot of things you can do in the Puget Sound, at least in the area of Tacoma, or the city of Tacoma. I have been to the coast of Oregon. My wife and I spent a night in a B&B, and I forgot the name of the Oregon town now, but they do have a beach there, and it takes about 3 hours to get there. You can also visit the coast in Port Townsend, Washington. They're right up on the border with Canada, and we did that in 2020, and that takes about 2 hours to get there. Trieste, next prompt. Trieste is home to the Victory Lighthouse, one of the tallest in the world at 223 feet. This wouldn't suit me as I suffer terribly with fear of heights, particularly man-made heights. Have you got any phobias? What is the highest place you have visited man-made or otherwise not including air travel? I don't have any phobias. I know my wife's a bit scared of heights. We did visit the Seattle Space Needle to visit their restaurant, and she was okay with that. We did also visit a gorge somewhere in Washington State. That's just a rope bridge over a big gorge. It's about 200, 300 feet above the gorge. I walked it just fine, but my wife chickened out after about 3 steps on the bridge, so I just crossed over myself. I might have been in some taller buildings than the Seattle Space Needle, but not recently. From Triste, you travel